October 2, 2025. The quiet city of Manchester, England. The morning sky was grey, the air heavy with the chill of early autumn. No one knew that in just a few minutes, peace would be replaced by horror. And a sacred place of prayer would turn into a scene of blood and chaos. That day was Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. A day of forgiveness, reflection, and redemption. But for the people of Heaton Park Hebrew congregation, it became the darkest day in their community's history. Inside the synagogue, families gathered. Children whispered softly, elders prayed, and candles flickered gently. There was serenity, calm, faith. And then, evil arrived. At 9:27 a.m., a black SUV stopped outside the synagogue. Behind the wheel was Jihad al-Shami, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. He stepped out. In one hand, a knife. On his chest, what looked like an explosive vest. His eyes were blank, but his mind was burning with hatred. He screamed, "You don't belong here." And then accelerated the car straight into the crowd. 3 people were thrown into the air. And before anyone could react, he began stabbing those who tried to help the wounded. Screams filled the air. People ran in every direction, mothers pulling their children inside. Elders trying to lock the gate. One of them was Adrian Dalby, 53 years old. He stood at the entrance, trying to close the synagogue doors to save others inside. But when the armed police arrived, seeing the chaos and a man near the door, they mistook Adrian for the attacker. A single shot rang out. Adrian fell. He had just saved lives, but lost his own. He would later be remembered as the guardian of the gate. At 9:31 a.m., emergency lines began to flood. Reports of a man stabbing people outside a synagogue and possible suicide vest. Within minutes, armed response units surrounded the area. Jihad al-Shami was still stabbing a 66-year-old man near the entrance, Melvin Kravitz. When officers shouted for him to drop his weapon, he turned toward them, still holding the knife. 2 shots were fired. The attacker fell instantly. The vest on his chest was fake, a crude imitation, meant only to spread more fear. And then, silence. Only the faint sound of sirens and sobbing filled the street. 2 men were dead, Adrian Dalby and Melvin Kravitz. 6 others were seriously injured. Manchester's heart had stopped beating that morning. And across the UK, one question echoed. Why? The area was locked down immediately. Counter-terrorism units took over the investigation. Within hours, they confirmed the attacker's identity. Jihad al-Shami, age 35, born and raised in Manchester. His parents had fled war-torn Syria decades earlier, hoping to give their son a peaceful life in Britain. He had worked as a delivery driver. Quiet. Ordinary. Invisible. But in the months before the attack, his online posts became darker, filled with hate, rage, and radical beliefs. Investigators discovered encrypted chats linking him to extremist content and hate forums. A man once surrounded by peace, had turned into a weapon of ideology. The next day, cameras surrounded the attacker's family home. His father stood outside, trembling. He faced the crowd of reporters and said quietly, "I lost my son, but what he did was against God, against humanity. He is no longer my son." Those words broke Britain's heart. Because this tragedy wasn't just a Jewish tragedy. It was a human one. The Prime Minister called it a vile act of terror. The Mayor of Manchester organized a vigil, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews stood side by side, lighting candles together. Leaders of the Muslim community condemned the attack, saying, "This is not our faith. This is hatred wearing the mask of religion." Across the UK, security was tightened around religious sites. For many, This wasn't just an attack on one community. It was an assault on the idea of coexistence itself. Who was Jihad al-Shami, and how did he become a monster? Psychologists studying radicalization explained. Men like him often feel lost, unseen, disconnected from society. They search for purpose. And extremist ideologies offer them a false one. A mission that turns despair into destruction. They are promised meaning, but given madness. In the days that followed, Manchester gathered to honor the dead. Thousands attended the funeral of Adrian Dalby, the man who died trying to save others. He was buried with full honors. Melvin Kravitz's family released a statement. He always believed that humanity comes before religion. Today, he died for that belief. Their names became symbols of courage. And reminders that even in terror, there is light. Across the world, leaders expressed solidarity. From Washington to Paris, messages of support poured in. The hashtag #StandWithManchester trended for days. Outside the synagogue, people gathered with flowers, candles, and tears. Children placed small stars of David in the fence. Someone left a note that read, "Hate may scream, but love always whispers back." That night, the city stood united in silence. Over the following days, 6 people were arrested on suspicion of helping the attacker online, sharing extremist content, or spreading propaganda. Some were released, others remained under investigation. Inside Parliament, the debate turned fierce. How could a British citizen be radicalized under the nose of law enforcement? Were social media companies doing enough to stop online extremism? Weeks later, the blood had dried. But the scars remained. The Heaton Park Hebrew congregation reopened its doors. The same halls that once echoed with screams, now filled again with prayers, this time, for peace. Children played outside, watched by armed guards. Every service began with the same words. We remember. We forgive. We endure. Manchester refused to bow down to fear. The city's heartbeat returned. Slower, softer, but stronger. Became a symbol of endurance. Because even in mourning, the community chose faith over fear. The candles that were lit for Adrian and Melvin, they still burn. In homes, in hearts, in prayers. When someone kills in the name of faith, they are not serving God, they are fighting their own soul. Adrian Dalby and Melvin Kravitz proved one eternal truth. That real religion isn't about taking lives. It's about saving them. Manchester still remembers. And as long as it does, evil will never win. If you believe that humanity is stronger than hate, share this story. And subscribe for more true stories of courage, tragedy, and the search for truth.